There's
Here we go.
there. That's the vineyard now. Oh, perfect.
That's me now.
Okay. I think maybe
Can you hear me well?
I can hear you very well, but your face is cut off. I see just your chin. So maybe tilt the camera so you can stay close to it. Perfect. Beautiful. Wow, you got a nice day.
Absolutely.
Awesome. We do too in Connecticut. I was saying earlier that I'm looking forward to going to Canada where it might be cooler, but we have a nice day over here. Would you start, Fred, by introducing yourself? And I like to hear how you got into the wine game, whether it was born into it or fell into it. I like to hear the story.
If you allow me, I'll just try to put the volume a little bit higher, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so nice talking to you this morning, Jeff.
It's lovely.
Yes, it's a beautiful day. This is one of the things that we have in Quebec is we have kind of a climate of extremes. We can have 95 degrees Fahrenheit just like we had this week. And during winter, we go down to minus 18 Fahrenheit. So it's really from all the extremes that we can get within the same year.
Yeah.
We can talk a little bit more about climate in a few minutes if you wish. Where I'm from, this is a good question. I just get into wine, I think, because I love that. I love drinking wine, but I was curious about the way that wine is done. So we traveled different places, met different winemakers in different countries. And just by the people that we met along our road, we ended up starting our own project. So I'm not from the wine business. I'm not from the wine industry. I'm not an agricultor, but this is all things that we put together to be able to do this project. We started in 2012, so we bought a land in 2010. We started to plant our first vines in 2012. And we had the first commercial product in the year 2016. So we started to sell in 2017. So it's a small project. We have 5 acres of vines. It's new in a sense that we just started to sell wine 3 years ago.
Okay.
And we are in Saint-Bernard-de-la-Colle, which is really south of the province. So if you go from Montreal and you drive south toward New York State, we're just 6 miles away from you guys. In fact, the U.S. border is in this direction,
Okay.
just 6 miles away.
So can you tell me, I read something interesting about where you got the name of your winery, because you're Fred Tremblay, and I think your story,
Yeah, I'm coming from a place that is called Saguenay region, and Saguenay region is one of the first regions to be founded in Quebec and even in North America. And there's lots of people, with the same names. So my family is a big family. At that time, people, they had lots of kids, and they were just having a very big population, let's say, from the same families. And my family is Tremblay. And there was so many Tremblay in Saguenay region that every family had a nickname. And my grandfather's name was Camille. So the nickname of my family is Camy. So the Tremblay Camy were kind of all the descendants of Camille Tremblay. So this is where we took the name that is kind of to honor my ancestors, my family, with my project.
That's awesome. I love it. It's almost like a tribe within the family. Can I ask a quick question? You said Fahrenheit and acres. Are you not on the metric system, or are you being kind to us Americans?
We're a lot in the metric system. Kilometers. So I'm just in between both. But to be honest, I'll show you in a minute. But for Fahrenheit and Celsius, I had to do some conversion to be able to talk to you in Fahrenheit.
It's greatly appreciated because when I talk to people, I think a lot of wine people think in hectares because we travel to Europe and I a hectare more than an acre, but I can't really get. I know 30 degrees Celsius is very hot. That's kind of all I know. Um, so I think when people think of wine from Canada, they know ice wine, but can you tell us that it's very much more than that? Can you give an overview of Canadian wine? And then I'm really interested in how you chose that property to start making wine on.
Yeah, of course, wine in Canada. I would say that Quebec is pretty new in the recent history of wine in Canada. There's amazing wine that have been done in Ontario for tens of years. We have great wines also in British Columbia. Nova Scotia also is producing wine, and Quebec started, maybe the first pioneers were 25 years ago, but really there's kind of an explosion since 5 or 10 years. So yes, we have a special climate that allows us to work with the ice wine type of wine, but we also have the perfect summer to be able to get with regular wines. So if you go in Ontario and BC, you have lots of Vitis viniferas, so the European vines. This is also what I'm growing here in Quebec. And in Quebec, something else that we have that is a little bit unique are the what we call the hybrids. So the hybrid vines are in between the rustic vines that were here hundreds of years ago and the European vines. So this is also something that there's lots of people in Quebec that grow these vines, these varietals, and they make wine that are kind of a little bit unique because they're from different vine varietals than what we see all the time. But for me, I have Chardonnay, Pinot Gris, and Pinot Noir. So I'm working with these three varietals.
And are you growing hybrids, or you're just saying that's from the region you see hybrids?
No, I don't have any hybrids. It was just a choice for me. With the hybrids are a bit more easy with the climate. They're more adapted to the winter, to the cold climate. So Vitis viniferas or European wines in Quebec, it's a little bit of more of a risk. It's a little bit more difficult to work with. So it was my choice. Since I just have a small project, I just decided to go all in with what is most difficult and just to put more time on them.
Okay. And how did you choose the land that you found?
Different consideration. I think we had kind of 5 different consideration: the accessibility, the soil, the slope. I have a slope about 2% going south. And as I said, we're really at the southern area of the province, so we have the best heat situation, I would say, from the province. And the soil itself, I don't know if you're going to be able to see. This morning it's a little bit windy, so I cannot go in the field. So I prepared everything here on my table to be able to show you.
Oh, you're so kind.
This is just an example of the soil that for here, it's a lot of different stones or small stones. And we have lots of shells as well. Here where we are, it's the former Champlain Sea. So 15,000 years ago, there was a sea over here. And we're just at the bottom of the sea. And as we can see with time, there was lots of shells that were kind of deposit in this area. So this is very good since there's lots of different stones, not too much clay. The drainage is natural drainage is very good. And with all of these small shells and piece of shells, we have a lot of minerality in our wine. So this is, I love that soil, to be honest.
So you mentioned, well, I have a question about usually cold climate grows Riesling, and because it's a little more resistant to cold. You chose Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and you said Pinot Blanc or Pinot Gris, but
Pinot Gris.
Pinot Gris, because it's difficult, but it survives. And I would maybe like to have you explain that video you sent me. That I'm very impressed with your engineer skills to figure that out and then actually making it happen.
Yeah, but since we have a unique climate, we also need to have unique solutions to be able to grow these kind of vines. As you know, the viniferas, they don't really like cold winter, so we have to put some protection over the vines. We're using what we call geotextiles.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a blanket, if I can say. It's 4 millimeters, so maybe 1/8 of an inch thick. And this is coming in rolls of 5 feet wide. And we have the full roll that we take and we put over the vines for winter. So of course we have to prune everything down. So if you see a little bit the vines, they're very low to the ground because we need to be able to keep them low. We just prune everything. We take the shoots down and we put the geotextiles over them. So I prepared something else.
You're so amazing.
I like doing these things. So this is a representation of what we do. Can you see it well?
Yeah, maybe a little bit higher.
Okay, I'll move this way.
That's perfect.
Okay. So basically, this is the situation. So this is my row of vines. I have wires to be able to support the geotextiles that are just a little bit above the vines themselves. So this is the soil. We put the geotextiles, what you have here in green. They are supported by the wires and they make some kind of a tent over the vines themselves. So imagine that you have the full row and we're just going down the row. And we put dirt on each side of them to be able to make sure that they're going to stay there during winter, if it's windy, before we get snow and so on. And the idea is the soil is the heat reservoir. So during winter, even if the soil is freezing over here, it's something like 26 Fahrenheit or 28 Fahrenheit at the worst. So for us, this is a reservoir of heat. With the snow that is building up on the top of the geotextile, snow is a perfect insulation. Even if it's really cold outside and let's say it's minus 18 Fahrenheit, this protection makes that over here, I won't go below minus 4 Fahrenheit, which is kind of the limit point for the vines. So we can keep an area of air around the vines itself that is warmer, much warmer than the cold air, because we're leveraging the heat reservoir, which is the soil. So this is really the idea of using the geotextiles. As you can imagine, it's a lot of work. We have to do all the pruning in the fall compared to our colleagues from the world that are doing pruning in the spring.
Right.
And we have to unroll, we have to install, we have to put the dirt. And in the spring, we have to do the opposite. We have to take out the dirt, we have to remove them, we have to roll them. So it's a lot of work, but this is the only way that we have, let's say, to be able to grow these kind of vines over here. So I did not invent the techniques. I have colleagues, pioneers in Quebec that developed these techniques, and we're more and more guys using them to be able to protect our vines.
I gotta say, and in the remarks, people are amazed too. It's really, really smart. But so you made like an attachment for your tractor to lift up the rolls of geotextile, and I think there's a motor to unwind and wind up. Did you,
Yep.
you an engineer, or how did you figure out that motor thing?
I am an engineer, in fact.
Okay, it all makes sense.
It's helping a little bit, but it's same thing. You know, we're kind of a small group of crazy people over here growing vines, and the first guy just started to work with geotextiles, made his own machine to be able to roll and unroll. The second guy went down and looked at it and said, okay, I will improve this, I will change that. And we might be at version number 10 of this machine. And every time that someone's developed a new machine, there's improvement. So it's a very good collaboration, very good sharing of information, just to be able to help each other. So it's a very good thing.
That's really lovely to see, though, people working together, and it kind of makes you think back in the old days what they had to do, you know, in Burgundy over the centuries when the monks figured it out. So it's lovely to see that. So can you tell me about the wine? Like, you have written about Chablis on your website, but how do I, when I taste your wine, how do I know it's Canadian, and how might I know that it's your wine as far as taste?
Canadian, I think all the Canadian wines, it's cold climate for sure. So cold climate, it's a little more fresh, a little more acidity. Nothing that is not nice, but this is typical to the Canadian wines, wherever you take them from Ontario or from Quebec. Uh, and after that, it's really the philosophy or the person that are making the wine. So on my side, working with 3 different varietals, the Pinot Gris is something I love because it's really the expression of the fruit. So we just keep it simple. We just put that into stainless tanks, and we just want to keep the freshness, the beautiful fruit that we get from the vines. The Chardonnay is a little bit different because it's fermented and aged in barrel. So I just play a little bit with first the fruit, the minerality, and I put my touch by playing with the élevage or the aging. I'm using French oak only. It's really a Burgundy style of Chardonnay, what I'm making. I can talk about Chablis. You can talk about Mâconnais as well. It's kind of similar to these kind of wine. And Pinot Noir, it's new to me. I just started to pick Pinot Noir in 2018. So this is the first vintages that we have of Pinot Noir. And Pinot Noir, it's a little bit, here it's fresh, it's fruity. It's not as, Pinot Noir is never heavy, but it's not as intense or heavy as you can see from Burgundy. If you know Pinot Noir from Oregon, if you know Pinot Noir from Ontario, the cold climate type of Pinot Noir, we're in this field of wine here.
Wow. It sounds delicious. Who are your customers then? Because we don't see much, unfortunately, in New York yet, but I think we're going to. So how has the market changed for you in the time that you've been in the wine business and maybe before?
It changed. It changed so much since the last 3 months that everybody are looking for Quebec wine here locally. So this is great for all of us. But basically, that's it. Quebec has a very small production, so it's mainly or almost uniquely the local customers. For me, the product I have are kind of very high quality, very nice product. I sell most of them into the restaurants all across the province. I sent a little bit of wine of Chardonnay last year to Paris, so this is something that we start to do, but just for friends over there, for the fun of it. You're talking about States. Why not? Maybe we're going to play with something like this one day. I have at least 2 colleagues I know that started to sell their wine in New York recently. And so that's it. But right now, with the recent crisis, everybody are looking for local products. And there's more and more specialized stores to be able to sell the wine from Quebec, and the people over there, they know about the wine, they know about the winemakers and the story and so on. So we have very good, I would say, ambassadors for our products. So we have the SEQ as well. Here in Quebec, we have kind of one group that is selling the wine from all over the planet, but it's one centralized group that is under the responsibility of the government. So these guys are as well are selling wine from Quebec, and they just do a great job to be able to give us some visibility.
That's fantastic. It has been a bit of a struggle in New York to sell New York wine. And I have to tell people the way I met you is through Christopher Bates up in Finger Lakes. That's why my question about Riesling. But it has been a struggle to get New Yorkers to accept New York wine. And just really in the past couple of years, people are really into it. And I'm hoping with the virus and the situation with the quarantine, it increases. But that's very interesting to hear that your people are supportive of that right away, which is great.
Yeah, and it's same for us. You know, we have some friends in Finger Lakes. Everything that is made in the States. If you go to the store in Quebec, you're going to find products from California, Oregon a little bit, but everything else, we don't have access to it. And we know that there's amazing products everywhere.
Yeah.
And would be great to be able to have access to what you know.
Yeah. Can you tell us what the maturation phase of the wines are?
Can you explain what you mean by that?
I've one of the things I've noticed is it's really different between the south of France and Alsace, where the vines might be in floraison or they be fruit break, that kind of thing. Where are your vines right now, the fruit?
Okay, okay, okay. We're just finishing the flowers. I don't know how you call this period, but we're just at the end of the flowers where the berries start to form.
Okay.
So we have very small green berries that are taking the place of the flowers, and the flowers are just finishing.
And then
Like,
go ahead. Were you going to say something else?
yeah, right now it's the sun is not on the right side and so on, but it's nice. Everything is growing quickly. Beginning of May was beginning of the season or beginning of the spring was really cold. So maybe one of the coldest I've seen in
Mhm.
years. And but since a month, since the middle of May, it's amazing the amount of heat that we have. We have barely no rain. So right now the vines are just beautiful. They look healthy. Everything is great at this time.
Do you have a risk of frost early in the season, like Chablis every year does?
Absolutely, this is something else that we have over here. It's winter could be very cold, and we have risk of spring frost. So I can show you, or maybe at the end of the video, I can try to do it. We have what we call the wind machine. I don't know if you have seen that in other vineyards or orchards. This is something in Canada that we have a lot in Ontario. Since they have more experience than us, this is something that they're using. But basically, it's a tower with a fan that is at 35 feet high. And the idea is if you have frost in the spring, it will be very cold, so cold to the freezing point at the level of the soil. If you go, I don't know, 3 feet higher, you might gain 1 degree. If you go 6 feet higher, you might gain 2 degrees, and so on. So when you get at 35 feet, you have something like 3, 4, 5 degrees more than what you have at the soil level. So the fan is just hooked to a motor, and the motor is just so the fan is running, is turning, and taking the air at maybe 5 degrees more than the soil, and pushing this air down to be able to push away the cold air and to push away the risk of frost at the same time. So I have one machine like this because it's small here. Some guys, they may have 4, 5, 6, 7 machines like this just to be able to make sure that the few cold nights that we're going to get in the spring, we're going to be able to avoid any damage on the vines.
So it's tilted down a little bit. It's not like a windmill. It's tilted down.
Yeah, exactly. It's tilted down a little bit, and the head is going around. So over 5 minutes, it will go all around, and to be able to push warmer air all around the where the fan is installed,
Wow.
the wind machine.
Awesome. I love all these new things that you have. So can you tell us, we're about 5 or 6 minutes left, but I would like to hear about a little bit about the quarantine, how it affected you as a business, as a wine grower, and then kind of where state of things are now in Canada.
Right now, it's of course I guess it's the same everywhere. It's getting better and better. So the restaurants just reopened 2 weeks ago in the province, 1 week ago in Montreal. The customer are there and so on. So this is improving on that side. Of course, nature doesn't know about these things. So for us, we have been very busy since the beginning of April, just like every year. I don't know if it's a little bit noisy. We don't have visitors, but it's just a helicopter that is going away. Yeah, that's it. So nature doesn't change for us. We are using some workers from Mexico. Even if we're a small vineyard, we have 2 guys working with us, and we had a delay on that side. So instead of being able to come here at the beginning of April, they just arrived 1 month late. So at the beginning of May. So for me, that was the biggest impact, I would say. The first month, I had to do most of the job myself, and with some friends, with some customers that came here to help. Good thing with wine, it's something that you cannot keep forever. But even if we have to delay sales from 1 month, from 2 months, from 3 months, the vines will just be as nice or even better after 3 months.
Yeah.
It's not just like if we have neighbors growing blueberries and things like this. When it's ready, it's time to sell. So for us, it was not too bad on that side. I would say the other impact is more about the on the events. There was different things that we were planning to do. We were supposed to go to visit the folks in colleagues in Finger Lakes to do some
Right.
presentation, some discussion with these guys. There's always stuff. Also, I go to Ontario a lot of time to meet my colleagues over there. There was some training I was supposed to do, and so obviously all of these events, trainings, and so on, they all have been canceled. So it's a little bit sad for us, but it's not the end of the world. In the context, we are in a very, very good position.
And then as a business, one of the things that I've learned is some wineries are like 80% geared towards restaurant and 20% retail, and they really had a hard time. Now, some out maybe like in California here, they have a direct to consumer, like a wine club. And if it's kind of a third direct to consumer, a third retail, and a third restaurant, they have done the best to survive this as a business. How are you selling? Are you doing more online, or are you just kind of paused and now you're selling back to restaurants, or how has that been?
Yeah, this is since I don't have so much volume. I'm about what you said. I might be selling 85% in normal time, 85% to restaurants. So of course there was a pause. So I just decided to hold and to wait for them to get back. I have personally I have limited number of customers, but really good customers that know what we do and know us, and we just I was sure that these guys will come back and need more wine when they're gonna reopen.
Mhm.
And but since there was so much demand from general public, I also sold a little bit more to the specialized wine shops. Here we don't have a boutique. We don't sell on site for different reasons. Also, we don't sell online, but we work with these kind of partners for selling to the general public. So we just send a little bit more wine because everybody were looking for Quebec wine. So that's what we have done, but mainly I just wait as well for the restaurant to reopen.
That's fantastic. I like hearing the story that you have the relationships and that's kind of gotten you through, because it's so important.
Right, it's very important.
Yeah.
It's even for the job we do, you know, we have a job that we need to be agriculture, so we need to produce the grapes. We have another job where we do the transformation, so we take the grapes and we make wine with it. And you have to be perfect on every aspect in agriculture and transformation. And the third job that we have is also to sell our wine. So this is also something very important and very interesting for us. To be able to be in relation with professionals, with general public, with wine lovers, and so on. So for me, it's as much important as the agricultural part, let's say.
It's very true, and I'm learning that more and more. But it's really cool to see that you think about it that way, because I really think that, especially meeting someone just even virtually like this, having a glass of their wine is like a little bit of a visit, whether to see the property or to have a conversation with the person. And I think that's very important. I'll let you go now. I really appreciate all the work you did, but did I miss anything that you want to tell people? Maybe all the preparation you did for us. I want to make sure I covered all the bases.
No, I think it's with your question, we just went around the good information, the right information. It's just too bad that the border is still closed, because I might be one of the only winemakers that you met that is driving distance from you. So if it was not closed, I would just take the car and to drink with you tonight.
That's awesome. Well, one day soon, one day soon. And my friend Anna Christina Cabrales on here goes to Canada a lot, so she knows a lot of your friends and your wine, and so we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time. This was so eye-opening, and I really appreciate all the little setup you did for us with the chart and the soils. It really means a lot to me.
You're welcome.
Thank you, and I hope to meet you in person very, very soon. Take care, Fred. Bye-bye.
Bye.